Hello, 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 hello. What's going on, everybody? Welcome now, Stock Trades. How's everybody doing today? All right, so we have a couple things to talk about today. Just as always, this is an educational platform. Nothing here constitutes financial advice. This is just a research educational platform. Definitely consult a licensed financial advisor. I am not licensed. Anything we talk about here is just for research and educational purposes only. All right, ladies and gentlemen. So let's go ahead and talk about a few things. Appreciate you messaging. Definitely, I would appreciate if you guys can hit the like button. If not, totally understand. If you guys are not logged in, it's understandable. It's a BITCH to log in sometimes, especially if you forget your password. Way past my bedtime. I'm sorry, brother, but luckily these are recorded, so people can watch this on the recording side. I know it's fun to watch them live. I'm sorry. Hey, Clove to retirement, man. You've been with us for such a long time. Me and Michelle were talking about you today. You remember that one time I was playing basketball with Buddy up in Minnesota, and yeah, man, you saw us grow up. It's pretty cool, man. It was really cute. Yeah, I gotta play some ball for Buddy. He's like watching. He's like, "What? You talking to me?" Oh. Let's see. You hit the live. Damn, I was about to first hit it. What? I'm nested all and snugged in bed. Oh, man. I wish I was in bed right now. What's going on, Andy Smith? All right. So this is quite interesting. I'm expecting Clover to go down low, but Clover can be Clover and just, do opposite of what Clover does and just opposite of the market. But I'm finding this quite interesting. So check this out. Clover now is up in the overnight trading market. But if you go ahead and take a look at Humana is also kind of chilling. But watch, look at Oscar Health. Oscar Health's down 3.52% in the overnight market. We also have Palantir down again overnight, 2.85%. It was down $16 today, and then down another $4.49 in today in overnight. So I mean, this thing's dropping. And again, it was bound to drop because it has to consolidate. Given that it's forecasting future free cash flows 2-3 years in advance, if not more. Molina's also down 2.12%. Even United Healthcare, it's down 1.60%. Now again, I'm in the camp in regards to Clove. I'm in the camp that what Vivek did with his insider buy, I think he stopped the bleeding and just said, hey, enough is enough. Enough's enough, enough, right? And then it just pretty much stopped at around 220-ish, right? 215-ish. Now, obviously, I was expecting him to come back online at $1.80 because that's the last time he came back in terms of buying. So now he bought it at 220 or 215-ish, 220. So if this does fall down in that level, he could do another buy, right? So that's quite interesting. So we'll see how those develops. I mean, there's really nothing I can say beyond just speculation. For folks that haven't done so, definitely give us a follow at _Albert Allen and also at Al Stock Trades. Definitely, we post a lot of good stuff here. Let's just again. We have two different stock terminals. We have the stock terminal directly from our website. This is the new brand new model of the Al Stock Trades version. We will be upgrading. You see how it looks completely different? We will be upgrading the old version 1. The data is still good. It's just this has the addition of this beautiful graph. This took so long to create, guys. I mean, this here is literally almost the final iteration of just beautiful tech, just amazing tech. And, I'm very excited to just basically bring this final user product to you guys. And again, this is to all lifetime access members, old and new. Everyone, when you become a lifetime access member, you get all future upgrades. So definitely take advantage. You also get lifetime access to all of the data that we have here. So take advantage. We do have the coupon code SAS for folks that are interested. Lots of folks have been signing up. Only a couple integrating. Don't know why that is. But definitely integrate to the stock terminal so you can get access to the community. So let's go ahead and let's see what we can do here. Let's open up the algo flow. I'm curious to see what's going on. I'm not expecting much, but let's see what's going on here from the 5-day mark. So again, algo flow going down. So I'm expecting, I'm not really expecting anything special here. Again, this has been kind of quite unreliable, especially with an insider buy. It needs some time to kind of just cook, but it's definitely interesting to watch. Let's look at the SR levels for CLOV. Let's go ahead and take a look at the minute chart. Let's go ahead and take a look at the hour chart. Let's take a look at the day chart. And these are all commands that you have access to. Let's take a look at the weekly chart. So let's see what's going on. All right, so it looks like there's been some stabilization at the 245 region. And, we're no longer talking about 60 cents anymore, right? So now we're like in this area of to the $2 region, and that's now become the 60 cent region, right? So pretty much that the 215 was when the insider buy happened, and this is now stabilizing. We have a resistance at around 267. 212 is when, again, that buy came in. 246 looks like it here. And then now the next levels are 301, 340, 381. Again, here's that 80 cents. We kapowed right through $1, kapowed right through $1.37, kapowed right there to $2. We got a strong, heavy resistance down there. We've been falling through different levels, but then now that 218 has been a very strong level of support, especially with an insider buy. So could this be, we had almost like a cup handle explosion, right? Can we formulate another cup here? A handle and another explosion? We'll see, right? So there's that. Big thing here is this is quite interesting. Again, these numbers are in billions. So this is the Fed reverse repo facility. It's pretty much nearly empty. It used to have around $2 trillion worth. Now it only has about $22 billion. And what this means is excess liquidity has dried up. This pushes cash into treasuries, raising demand and lowering yields and boosting bond prices. So eases funding and signals the Fed may be closer to cutting rates to avoid reserve stress, generally bullish for bonds, but really supportive for stocks. Now, again, people don't understand the relationship between bonds and bond yields. So when the bond prices go down, the bond yields go up, right? Think of like United Healthcare or Energy Transfer. If the dividends remains the same, then every time the stock price goes down, you're able to get more of that stock, right? And since you're able to get more of those shares, you're able to get more dividends, right? Because you get those dividends per share that you own, yeah? Given what they give out. So when bond prices go down, the bond yields go up, right? So if the bond prices end up going up, then the bond yields will go down. So that's why it's bullish for bond prices, right? Because bonds are going to go up, but the bond yields, what they're going to pay, they're going to go down. That makes sense, right? So this is something to definitely take a look at. So a couple of things happened today in regards to Vivek and Andrew ringing the bell at the NASDAQ. So we'll talk about that. They did a wonderful presentation. But a couple things I wanted to do is I wanted to post a couple of their white papers. You could go ahead and read this. I'm not going to read this. The big, TLDR down here is, Counterpart assists and improves heart failure outcomes through early diagnosis, greater cardiology and home care use, fewer hospitalizations, readmissions, boosting star ratings, lowering costs, and enhancing care coordination at scale. And we already talked about how Haven Health, JP Morgan Chase of Jamie Dimon, Amazon of Jeff Bezos and Berkshire Hathaway of Warren Buffett. They try to create something that Clover is doing, but unfortunately they failed. And Haven Health ended up basically stopping at around 2021. And then ultimately they ended up just buying United. Right. So here's another one with COPD. We see a lot of patients that have this, and it's one of those, things that they just continue to get exacerbations. So Counterpart Assistant enables early COPD diagnosis, stronger specialty engagement, and fewer hospitalizations, readmissions, again, improving star ratings, lowering costs, and delivering scalable chronic disease management. There's like a theme here, right? This is in regards to the HEDIS score system, right? So Clover's Counterpart Assistant drove industry-leading HEDIS gains and a 4-star CMS rating by closing care gaps and at the point of care, boosting screenings and chronic disease management, lowering medical costs, and creating a scalable advantage in value-based care. I've been finding this quite interesting. Now, again, if you go ahead and take a look at Palantir, this was bound to happen. Any retail investors that are freaking out are really stupid, I would say. But let me see if I can find what I was talking. Right here. So if you look at Palantir, it's pretty much down 9% today. In the 5 days, it's been down 16%, down pretty much $31. It used to be at $189. Again, guys, this thing needs to consolidate. I mean, this thing's been on a rampage. So, it's pretty much from its peak down around 15%. So we'll see what ends up happening. And are we going to end up retesting, any of these lows? The crazy part is, institutions have been pretty much buying up the stock pretty rapidly. So it's going to be interesting to see what retail does. I mean, in the next 5-10 years, I wouldn't doubt this hit it's $1 trillion, right? But overall, what we're seeing now is the selling of technology stocks and the buying of healthcare in the past week. Now, of course, we have different data here that suggest otherwise, and potentially some consolidation in the market or potentially another correction. We'll see. But it's looking like Wall Street is shifting to healthcare now. Okay. This is interesting. So if you look at Liz here, this is the, hedge fund large speculators shorting the Russell 2000. The last time they short, this has been the biggest short we've had in the documented history of this graph. This kind of reminds me of how they basically shorted the S&P in around Liberation Day. Again, guys, Wall Street does not do anything remotely to the truth. Okay? So what does that mean? Okay, if Wall Street doesn't do anything remotely to the truth, why are they doing this specifically for the Russell 2000? Well, a lot of retail investors hold this, okay? And a lot of money is going to be made with these stocks if there's going to be rate cuts. But that's like an easy concept, right? That's the first order derivative. What is a second order derivative? Any of these companies in these basket of companies that are triple dragons, that are positive free cash flow, positive operating cash flow, positive net income. Obviously, to be free cash flow positive, you have to be operating cash flow, right? Positive, right? So if you're FCF and net income positive, then I would say, this is going to be a remarkable event happening, especially when the Fed cuts interest rates. Approximately 2 cuts this year and 2 to 3 cuts next year in 2026. We're in a very beautiful era right now, and Wall Street just can't hold its cards. It's going to have to show its hands regardless, and we've already seen people show their hands given the highest institutional buying spree we've seen for Clover in regards to investor holdings. Incredible, incredible, incredible. Our system is taking and analyzing the data now, and we'll be outputting it soon. Now let's go ahead and talk about this. Many people don't see it, but it's clear that in the next 5 years, healthcare will be transformed and Clover Health will be leading the way. I think this is Chelsea Clinton. I think it is. I see that dimple right there. That's a beautiful dimple, right? And then here's Vivek. Man, Vivek is the godfather right there, man. Love him. All right, so there's that, we're going to go ahead and talk about some interesting things here. But I want to point something, guys. I want to really point something out here that I really find amazing here. So Andrew said to our Clover members, which are patients, right? Thank you for trusting us. We work for you. Yeah, it's very powerful, right? And they're doing this the right way. And I'm very excited, right? I'm very excited to see this. Definitely, slow and steady wins the race. I'm loving that there's no hype for this stock. It's honestly best to not have Wall Street bets on this. They will come later, like Palantir. They will come later. But by then, they'll be so poor that they can't buy shares in the company. Well, they have to buy calls and then buy puts and all those other things. And we can end up basically selling covered calls and cash secured puts. At least that's what I'm going to be doing. Again, not financial advice, but I'm going to, because as of right now, based off of the portfolio for Clover, I could maybe make around, I want to say around 13 to 15,000 per month. Again, that's not a lot of money, right? And again, I know that for you guys that are watching that are with the smaller portfolios, you're like looking, you're like, what the F? How is that not a lot of money? If I was to tell me, if I was to talk like that, let's put it this way. If we were back in 2010, 2011, and if I heard myself talk, I would look at myself and be like, what the hell are you smoking, dude? Are you smoking crack? Like $13,000 to $15,000 a month is not a lot of money. Are you smoking the crack, bro? Like, what the hell, man? Like, what the hell did you do? Did you pick off some crack from the road? What are you doing? So I get it, right? It's a bit weird, to hear that. Say, it's not a lot of money. Understand that I was in your shoes before, right? Trust me, I only had a couple bucks. Like, was it 50 or 60 bucks? I don't know. I had less than $100 at one point in my bank account. It was bad. It was really bad. It was freaking bad, dude. Like, when there was a time when Michelle paid for my gas, and I was like, holy shit, man. I was like, oh my God, right? So, yeah, so I get that, guys. But understand though, the fact that I was at one point your shoes, but then now I'm here. Hopefully, it should give you some motivation. You can be where I'm at, and I mean, I know I've created some crazy things, created things that don't exist before. I get it. All these things. I get that, right? But again, I'm not special. I'm obsessive. That's all it is. There's nothing hard about this. Okay, you could do it too. Right? So, trust me. Okay, so you could you work hard, and you just gotta work hard. That's all it is. All right, so what's going on, Jay Santos, small portfolio crew? What's going on, B-Rob? How you doing? Sorry, just looking at the comments, guys. No, of course, the market can remain irrational longer than you can remain solvent. I mean, these are just common words like fortune cookies, right? I call them stock cookies, right? So, let's drink a little sip of the coffee here. All right. So, before we get to the kind of the video here of them basically talking in the NASDAQ, I just want to say something. Okay. There's been a lot of examples, and we're going to go through them right now because I think, again, we're an educational first platform, right? And I'm just loving the user interface here, guys. It's taken a while to, again, remodel this. Lots of code. I mean, this has taken me, oh my God, an arm and a leg just to remodel this. But ultimately, we're headed in the right direction, and I'm happy we're, our lifetime members have access to all this data. Again, we cannot create an educational platform without having access to the data, so you guys can basically experiment. And it needs to be lifetime access for folks to learn. You can't just come here for 2-3 weeks. I mean, this is a lifelong. This is like a whole life change, right? Whoever tells you that you can do this in 1 week and get rich, that's all bullshit. That's a scam. That is a scam. Okay, so what was I going to say? We've talked about this before. Okay, about like doctors, right? How much doctors make, and I kind of gave an example of an anesthesiologist. Let's just let's just kind of do that again, because I think this is good help. I think this is pretty good. I'm just building off of anesthesiology. I think it's a pretty good. Just there's a lot more data on it. I don't know. It was just I picked on anesthesiology, last video, so we'll just continue with it. Hey, can you do me a favor? Can you find me anesthesiology jobs that have a salary and find me the links to them? So let's just kind of see what this is. First, let's find the links, and I'm going to explain because it's curious. How much do anesthesiologists make? And let's see if they make a lot, right? And then we're going to talk about how long does it take to become an anesthesiologist? And then how much debt you have to have. Because that's one thing I left out. I got some feedback from Dr. Patel about this. Because it's always important to talk about the debt, right? Because you have to also be in debt. And then, so we're the point is if you want the good life, there's nothing that there's no shortcuts, right? It's looking up Arizona jobs. I don't want Arizona jobs. I want kind of national. So I'm going to just skip this. And of course, all right. So I'm going to just kind of redo this right now because I want national. Got 600,000 here, but find me the highest paying anesthesiology jobs in the country and give me the top 5 highest paying with links. So let's just do that. We could do other specialties too, but since we talked about anesthesiology before, and you never know. Okay, so here's one. Here's Alabama, $1 million plus. You get 10 weeks off. I don't know. I honestly don't know kind of where. Well, I mean, here, instead of finding the link, I mean, these are real links, right? I mean, these are not like, this is how much they make, right? Right. I mean, we could just click on one of the links here and just see if we can find a job link somewhere here. Job board. Good. So here's a job board. They're needed. $490 before loans and job incentives. Guaranteed income, $1 million plus, and a full course of health benefits. You get $75,000 of additional income, $100,000 in student loan repayment, golf courses and stuff like that, and all this other stuff. So you can see it here, okay? So now we know this is a lot of money, right? Again, $1 million is actually, you're going to call me crazy, but $1 million after taxes is around 600,000. So about 400,000 goes to the government. So, I mean, so you're working technically for every hour you're working about, 20 minutes, right? For free. Is it that? Or 40 minutes? I don't know, 20 minutes, whatever it is. Okay. So now let's go ahead and say, all right, so now that we talked about this and we see that these people can make a lot of money, how long does it take to become an anesthesiologist? So let's go backwards, right? So undergrad is 4 years, but you have to work hard. You have to work about 40, 50 hours a week in undergrad. You know what I mean? You got to work because you got to get a GPA. You got to get a high GPA. You can't just like do it and then get in. I mean, you got to get into med school. Med school, you have to have a high GPA. You can't be stupid. Then you got to take an MCAT. An MCAT's like a 8-hour exam now, I think. They changed it since I've taken it. Then you got med school, right? You got your, 1 to 2 years preclinical, which is hard, and this is hard, and a lot of hours. Then you got to take like step 1 and step 2, which is 2 8-hour exams. Then you got to do your residency. 1 year is internship, general medicine or surgery. And then you do 4 years of anesthesiology. That's 5 years. And you got fellowship, 1 to 2 years, depending on what you want. So altogether, 12 to 15 years. Okay. Now that we talked about this, now let's say, so from undergrad to medical school for those 8 years, how much money do you make for 8 years? So let's see how much money you make in undergrad and in medical school. Do you make anything? So the first real salary, no. I'm not asking for that. I'm not asking for the first real salary. I want to talk about how much these people make. A fourth-year medical student, given that he's been working for 8 years, how much money are they making at that point after 8 years of hard work? This is 8 years, guys. 8 years. Let's see how much money after 8 years of education can give you. So there it is. That's exactly what I wanted. So putting it together, because all this is just garbage talk. I don't have time, right? So the first year versus the 8 year, you got undergrad med school, essentially $0 in salary. You make nothing. In fact, you're accumulating debt, $200,000 to $300,000 in debt, right? And then year 9 to year 12, you only make $60,000 to $75,000 annually, while you have $200,000 to $300,000 in debt. But what about a house? You still haven't even factored that debt of a house. What about kids? You see what I'm trying to say? And then finally later, then you start making this. But then again, you're still in debt. Chamath said this in his most recent All In podcast. It's not worth it, right? Economically, it's not worth it if you want to make these bucks. It's not worth it. It's better to be an electrician, make $100,000 for like 8 years. You'll be over $800,000 more, right? Like, it's ridiculously stupid, right? If you go into healthcare for the money. Like, I mean, you are literally downright retarded, right? There's a lot of doctors that are retarded that went into med school for the money, and they end up basically getting shitty. They give out shitty patient care because they do it for the money, and then they're not happy. That's why there's a lot of burnout too, right? Right? Because you don't really know crap. I mean, honestly, I think the way medical school should be structured is just to give you an intern year to figure out what you want to do, right? Then later decide, because that helps with burnout as well. Because it's hard to switch out, especially when you're in attending. But okay, so but hold on though. I want. Oh man, no, what is this? I want a little bit more though. I just want a little bit more. Okay. Okay, but you talked about the overall debt around 200 to 300,000. What's the highest that you've seen after undergrad and med school, right? Because again, assuming, let's say, in this case, a 5-year residency, a lot of residents don't pay their loans. So utilizing the current interest rate market, how much you think these loans are ultimately going to be for undergrad and medical school after 5 years, right? And what's the highest that you've seen? Just to give you some perspective, right? Okay. So altogether, again, these are like high interest rates, right? Because it's really funny. First, they complained to us, oh, you got low interest rates, the elderly population, right? But then their education was cheap. Their houses were cheap. And then now we have, high interest rates and freaking, again, not 17% Paul Volcker era, but, crap, guys. I mean, we're talking high interest rates and high education. So we're talking on the high end about $400,000 and $600,000 in debt. That's not even including a house. Okay. So it takes about 15 years to actually start making money. Okay. So now let me explain to you. Okay. So now let's go ahead and transition to talk to something else. Okay. Now let's talk about Peter Lynch in terms of stocks and how long basically it takes a stock to materialize. How many years did Peter Lynch say it takes for a stock to materialize? It's a good question. I know the answer, but let's see if ChatGPT knows the answer. I'm honestly curious. Haha. Excelente. Very good. He famously said it usually takes a stock 3 to 10 years for its story to play out and for the investment thesis to materialize. Lynch warned against the common mistake of investors selling too soon, saying, in the stock market, the most important organ is the stomach, not the brain. It's not about how smart you are, but whether you can handle the ups and downs, which unfortunately a lot of retail investors just don't have the stomach. Okay. His point is you need to be patient and the stomach to let the stock fundamentals catch up to the thesis, right? So, again, there's stocks that are from 3 years to 10 years. Where is Clover? Let's assume the worst, right? Because it's a SPAC, Chamath, and just bleh, right, all that crap. Let's assume it's 10 years, right? So because it's 10 years, let's assume the worst. And again, so what was it, 2021? So, let's say by 2031, right? And there's a lot of people out there that I don't want to wait that long. I can't do that, right? But hey, it is what it is. That's how long things take, right? Just don't be upset when you see all the materialistic things that I buy in the next 10 years. When you're saying, oh man, I wish I held on to 4,000 shares or whatever. Again, not financial advice. You are the CEO of your own W-2 portfolio, right? Right. So you do what your W-2 self does, right? I want to break out of that system. I want a way out, right? And that's what I've done. And that's what I'm building, right? So that's kind of the life I'm building, right? So again, why 3 to 10 years? So let's just dig deep in terms of what Peter Lynch was saying, right? So business cycles, right? It takes years for earnings growth, new products, right? Especially Counterpart or industry trends to show up on the reported results, right? Market recognition lag. Even if a company is improving, it often takes years before Wall Street and investors notice and reprice the stock. Compounding. Lynch was a believer in letting companies compound earnings over time, which often only shows meaningfully after several years. Okay. Here it is. Making money is not in the buying and selling; it's in the waiting. I mean, you're getting multiple smart people saying the same thing. Let's see here to catch the replay tomorrow. Oh yeah, absolutely, man. We'll be here. Been working nonstop for a decade, and finally good reaping the rewards, making money. Yeah, absolutely. Delayed gratification. So short-term, 1 to 2 years stocks, random, influenced by news, hype, or fear. This is what investors want, right? Give us some PR, right? Talk to us more. Please read us a bedtime story. That's not how earnings works, right? That's not how investing works, right? The first 2 years of undergrad. Oh, I want to be a doctor. I'm pre-med. Oh, I'm pre-med. I want to be a surgeon. I want to do this. I want to do that, right? And then all of a sudden, when push comes to shove and they have to work 60 hours a week, they're like, oh man, this is some bullshit. And a lot of them just leave. They can't handle it, right? Get the hell out, right? Patients don't deserve that bullshit, right? Go party, right? So sorry for being harsh, but that's the reality. Same thing with short-term investors. Get out, man. Go buy GameStop, right? So all in all, 3 to 10 years, which is around, again, how long it takes to be. So now let's go ahead. So go ahead and in less than 40 words, explain what I'm trying to say here. Why was I talking about anesthesiology and how long it takes and what Peter Lynch is saying? What's the overall common theme here in being able to make the big bucks? I mean, I think the conclusion is pretty self-explanatory. You're connecting anesthesiology and Peter Lynch to show that big rewards require patience. Whether years of medical training or years holding a stock, long-term commitment is the key to make serious money, right? But the problem is you have to understand what you're holding. I can go ahead and hold garbage my whole life, and it's not gonna become gold, right? You have to kind of know what you're doing, right? So now let's go ahead and talk about this video here, right? Let's go ahead, increase the stop the sharing of the screen, and then share it this way. And let's make this video play.
Welcome.
Closing bell.
Well, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to NASDAQ. My name is Irina Radman. I'm Managing Director here on the listings team at NASDAQ. It's truly my great pleasure to welcome Clover Health Investments Corp. Co-founder and Executive Chairperson Vivek Garipalli and Chief Executive Officer Andrew Toy to ring the closing bell at MarketSite. I'd also like to extend a warm welcome to members of the management team, board members, Cloverites, and all of our distinguished guests. We're so excited you could all join us right here from the
Cloverites, that's us. Cloverites, what's going on? Hello, hello, hello. All right.
crossroads of the world in Times Square, New York, as we get set to ring today's closing bell. Founded in 2014, Clover Health Investments Corp. Is a physician enablement technology company based in the United States. Clover Health is committed to bringing access to great healthcare to everyone on Medicare, with a focus on seniors who have historically lacked access to affordable, high-quality healthcare. Their software platform, Clover Assistant, is designed to aggregate patient data from across the healthcare ecosystem to support clinical decision-making and improve health outcomes through the early identification and management of chronic disease. Clover Health has experienced membership and revenue growth in its Medicare Advantage plans.
Bingo, bingo, bingo. Fundamentals are starting to basically track. People are starting to realize that revenue growth is coming online. They're starting to realize that Counterpart, Clover Assistant, actually works. And we're going to start getting a restabilization of the investment thesis.
In Q2 of 2025, membership grew by 32% year over year, reaching over 106,000 members, and insurance revenue increased by 34% to approximately $478 million. The company has also published data demonstrating Clover Assistant's unique ability to support improved care across several highly prevalent diseases within Medicare. Findings include earlier diagnosis, treatment, and management of diabetes and chronic kidney disease, as well as significantly reduced hospitalizations and readmissions among patients with congestive heart failure and chronic obstructive pulmonary disease. Clover's focus includes continued membership growth and extending the benefits of their proprietary technology platform to a wider audience via their subsidiary, Counterpart Health.
Bingo, bingo, bingo. Wider subsidiary, Counterpart Health. Who could that be? The subdomain analysis, cough, cough.
To enable enhanced patient outcomes and reduce healthcare costs on a nationwide scale. Today, we celebrate their continued growth and transformation as a leading healthcare technology innovator, marking a special moment to celebrate the company's evolution and the dedicated team that has driven its success.
Company's evolution, transformation. Interesting how they're basically talking like this about Clover. If Clover was a loser, you think they would be here right now? GP says, when was this? My friend, this was today. This was today. This was today. Let me show you. August 19, 2025, 1:33 p.m. Today is August 19. Okay? If Clover was a loser, you think they would have losers up here? Learn to think for yourself.
Vivek and Andrew, we know this is a team effort, so congratulations to you and the entire team on all that you have achieved. NASDAQ is proud to be your partner, and we look forward to supporting your continued growth. Now, please join me in welcoming Vivek and Andrew to the podium for further remarks.
Thank you. I'd like to say that this moment isn't just about ringing a bell. It's about a belief, one that started in small rooms and on big whiteboards, built through hard conversations, long nights, and a conviction that the healthcare system could work differently.
Yes, I agree. Look at this guy, right? Look at how he's dressed. You think this guy's doing it for the money? This guy has seen the healthcare system fail so many people, right? He himself has to deal with the healthcare system as he's been open about his Marfan syndrome diagnosis. right? I have the utmost respect for Andrew Toy, right? A true gentleman, a leader, a good man. And honestly, it's so sad that a computer scientist is going to be doing more for the healthcare than physicians. Now, again, he would disagree with me and say, and pretty much say that, no, it's physicians that are doing it. But let's be honest. Physicians have lost, we've lost their power, right? We don't really have a lot of power anymore. We're trying to find it, and hopefully maybe we can find it through this software, right? And you have this computer scientist who's the only computer scientist running a healthcare company. And it goes back to what one venture capitalist said, who was the first investor of OpenAI, Vinod Kushla. Back in 2013, he stated that he believes that data scientists and computer scientists are going to give more to healthcare than all the combined efforts of all of the STEM, biological, including my degrees, is effort into the healthcare system. And we're starting to see that play out. Let's continue to what he says.
That it could work better. We've never claimed to have all the answers, but what we have had since day one is a deep belief in the people behind this company. To our employees, you've taken on complexity that most would walk away from. You've stuck through volatility. You've built things that didn't exist before. That's rare.
Yes. So they build things that do not exist before, right? It's very inspiring to be able to see this company grow and build actual software that has not been seen before. They've seen their stock price. They've seen their company, but they stuck through it. They worked their asses off. I mean, was it in the podcast? Didn't you hear Kevin, VP of Product Design of Counterport, specifically state how many times he almost wanted to quit? This is what happens when you have tenacity and the audacity to dream of a better future for your company. This is a very clear, strong leader, right? Let's continue.
And that's special. To our clinicians, nurses, and doctors, you're the ones delivering the mission in real time, in homes and clinics. You're not just part of the story, you are the story. And to our Clover members, thank you for trusting us. We work for you.
To our Clover members, which are the patients that are dealing with this chronic kidney diseases, that have to go on dialysis, that have the congested heart failure, that sometimes they may not be able to afford a ride to the pharmacy to get their diuretics, so they get puffed up and almost die. Clover Health comes to them and heals them. To the detection of, by 36 months, I believe, for type 2 diabetes. Counterpart is there. Clover Assistant, basically, looking out for the patients. Clover Health sees one of their members falling down. They send their home health team to go take care of them. He said something very special, right? He said that to the Clover members, thank you for trusting in us. We work for you, right? You see, this is the type of company I want to invest in. This is the type of leadership I want to put my money in. Not only is it tracking fundamentally through fundamental analysis, it's tracking from emotionally as well. They're working on both ends, both parts, right? And my timeline is 5+ years, 5-10 years. Take your time. Build out the product. Build out the software. Great things come to those who wait. I don't give a shit about money. Hence why the lifetime access is cheap as shit, right? At the end of the day, it's about what you do with what you have. And to see this company working hard while the whole healthcare industry prioritizes profits over patient care, you have a company that's working hard, that's increasing gross margins, not by skimming patients, by having increased prior authorizations and denials. No, by actually creating software to assist them to make them healthier, right? So ultimately, they don't cost as much to the healthcare system because they are healthy. This is the type of leadership I like to invest in from the top down. Because whenever you see a workforce at the bottom that is garbage, it is a reflection of the garbage leadership at the top. And I've seen that a lot in healthcare, a lot of departments that are garbage on the bottom end, which if you can basically trace it all the way to the top end, and you realize that it's just as worse of a garbage as it diffuses down to the bottom end. It's very clear that Clover Health is not like that. They're working hard for a mission. They're working for their families as they get older, for themselves as they age, and for their children of this great country, and hopefully beyond, to be able to extend Clover to other parts of the internationally. Let's continue. I'm going to replay this line because I really like it a lot. To our Clover members, we work for you. Thank you for trusting in us.
That's rare, and that's special. To our clinicians, nurses, and doctors, you're the ones delivering the mission in real time, in homes and clinics. You're not just part of the story, you are the story. And to our Clover members, thank you for trusting us. We work for you. To our board, thank you for the long view and for leaning in when it mattered most. And to our executive chairman and founder, Vivek, your willingness to challenge the system and build from scratch gives all of us permission to believe we can do this differently. And you continue to guide us as a thought partner, helping shape strategy, push on the hard questions, and champion the mission that has brought us here. We've learned a lot, we've grown, and we're still here, not because we did everything right, but because we've stayed aligned to our mission to improve every life. And we've adapted without ever losing who we are. The next chapter is about building the healthcare system we'd want for our own families, one that listens, learns, and cares. More efficient, more accessible, more human. Powered by technology, yes, but never losing the soul that brought us here.
Never losing the soul that brought us here. In the Hippocratic Oath, it says that warmth and sympathy outweighs the surgeon's knife. So whatever the general surgeon, neurosurgeon, orthopedic surgeon, vascular surgeon can do, warmth and sympathy, at some point there will come a time where there is no surgery to treat this disease. And warmth and sympathy, holding a patient's hand, the soul of basically what medicine stands on, outweighs the surgeon's knife and even the chemist's drug, the medicine doctors, the internal medicine, the cardiologist, the nephrologist, the infectious disease doctors, the rheumatologist, the endocrinologist, all of them. Warmth and sympathy outweigh the surgeon's knife and the chemist's drug. And that's an oath that's said throughout all graduating classes of all medical schools every year. And unfortunately, people forget this oath it's a shame, but it's very beautiful to see a company that is aligned in the path that is pretty much, any person that's worn the white coat, because, the white coat, I have a white coat, but the white coat's not mine. I'm only renting it. As I pass on, we will provide this knowledge to the next generation of physicians, and we pass on that white coat to them, right? It's not something that we own, right? You have to be completely, humble when it comes to these types of things. And to see a company that uses technology, but understands that, yes, we're a technology-focused company, but it's important that there's things that extend beyond technology. The human touch, knowing that your physician cares about you, that you have someone out there looking after your care, your needs, your heart, your kidneys, your whole self, right? And again, it's tough because, we put on our Wall Street hats, and yes, I'm very vicious, right? And sometimes I've made some deranged comments about W-2 employees, but I say that to open up your minds, right? But just don't get it twisted. The biggest thing that you've seen, and some companies don't practice this and they still become successful, right? But it's the legacy that they build, right? Like, for example, look what Meta did with their sex chatbot. You think that's the legacy you want to build, to encourage users to use this, right? At the end of the day, this company, I'm okay for them taking as long as they need. Now, with that said, I believe we're on the other end of this hill, right? The hard part, I believe, is over. And now it's about building what they have. And they already have a usable product. But let me just fast forward to your yachts, to your first class rides, to your expensive beachfront views, to your expensive cars. I'm telling you this from someone who already has these things. I don't have a yacht, but right? I'm telling you from someone who's already had it. At the end of the day, what pays the most in your heart is being able to help other people. That's what pays the most. Okay? Why do you think I have this channel? Why do you think I built Lifetime Access? And why do you think I've used our software to take one of the most hated companies on Wall Street, right? And to show you the intrinsic value, how you can basically use the software to find companies like this. And to find one, I think it's going to be one of the bangers of bangers that exists. And it's just going to be a very fun ride to see. It's really humbling to see a CEO that's like this. This is the type of leader that you want to have. And, it is an honor just to be able to have this company in my portfolio, just to say that, hey, you know what? I am an investor in this company, and I'm proud to be an investor in this company, right? I'm proud to basically be investing into something that is able to help patients while I'm sleeping, right? Being able to invest in something greater, to be able to help people. And the beautiful part is I'm most likely going to be using this software in the future as I care for patients. So, Andrew, thank you. Thank you, Vivek. Thank you for the whole Clover team. And it's an honor, right? And I can't wait to see all the great things and all the healthy data that we get from these Clover members. And I hope that they live a long, beautiful, happy life, right? A life that, and by the way, the patients in which Clover is taking care of are poor patients. These are patients that don't have access to be able to have the time to watch a YouTube video about stocks. These patients don't have a lot of money. In fact, I can guarantee you that some of these patients that Andrew Toy is helping physicians take care of, if you look at their blood levels, their albumin levels are low, which means that they're malnourished because they probably can't even afford protein and meat to eat, because the dollar since 2020 has lost about 28% of its purchasing power. These are the people that you're serving. I see them. I take care of them. I just took care of them. I just took care of one patient that unfortunately had this in South Campus. Right? So ultimately, by looking at the fundamentals, you're seeing that this company is actually creating one of the greatest movements that I've seen in healthcare. It has the best gross margins, and we'll be talking about this right now. We've had some really great data come out in regards to their gross margins, and it's very interesting for them. It's just remarkable because they're growing in a way that is not short changing the patient. In fact, they give the patient PPO, right? Not HMO. They let the patient decide what physician that they should choose, right? And it's very beautiful. So let's continue watching, and we'll go from there.
Now, I'd like to invite up to the podium our founder and executive chairman, Vivek Garipalli.
We are so proud to be your partners, and we're looking forward to the great things you're going to achieve.
Thank you so much.
You know, I want this image to be kind of inputted in your head, right? That you don't have to screw people over to make money. That making money is about exchanging value, right? It's about providing value, right? You don't have to screw people over to make money, right? That's what capitalism that you see now, you know, it's what's like, it's what's advertised, unfortunately, but it's about providing value. We're going to look back at this image in the next 10 years, and we're going to see just remarkable growth and transformation. But one thing, if I may ask for all of you, because, you know, you guys have seen, there's people on here that have been listening to us for the past 4 years, right? You've been on my journey as I'm training to become a doctor. You know, you guys have seen it, right? You guys, you know, you guys have been with us for a long time. And, you know, if there's one thing, if I could basically tell all of you is, you know, once you start making the big bucks, you know, start making all this money, you know, understand, you know, don't lose who you are, right? Just because you have all this excess money doesn't mean you're better than the person on the street, right? It's just paper money that's printed by a government, which is not attached to anything but the military, and it's not even attached to gold. And what is honestly gold? It's just a material substance that's finite. It's all fugazi. What does it all mean, honestly, at the end of the day? Right? It means nothing. And if you can't see that, then I'm sorry. This channel has failed you, right? And unfortunately, this country has failed you, right? At the end of the day, and you know, what matters the most is what you do with what you have, right? What do you have and what you do to what you have, and can you make the world a better place, right? That's literally what it all comes down to. Because I'm telling you, so what? You have a beachfront view watching this beautiful beach. Yeah, you get to enjoy your life. But at the end of the day, that beach view will be the same view after 5-10 years. And at the end of the day, you will look into the void of that beach view as you see yourself age, wrinkle, and you will ask yourself, what is the point of life? And I believe one of the biggest points of life is to be able to help the people around you, pushing the world forward and advancing it as the species. And really, honestly, what Marcus Aurelius said, it's like an olive coming down and falling off of a branch of a tree. As it transcends down through time, the exterior part of the olive slowly starts to decompose to its pit. And as it falls down to the floor, it thanks the mother in which it came from, planting itself its own seed, being able to create new life. We're all a product of the beautiful earth that we come from. And it's all, and in my opinion, it's about pushing humanity forward. And I think this company is doing exactly that. Right? So let's watch the rest of this and we'll go back to the analysis. So this is the beautiful team here. These are the people that are working to reshape the future of healthcare. These are hard. I think she's one of the hardworking doctors, I think. Great people, great diversity. Let's see here. Right. They're getting ready to celebrate, clap the hands. Right. She's the lady that has sold some shares, but she used to work at United Healthcare, right? She's still there. Right. So it is an honor to be able to talk about this company, right? And it's funny because we're the only people that have talked about it, which is quite interesting in terms of on YouTube. And I think for all of you guys to that have tuned in, I've seen the technology, I've seen the science. The science works, and I'm very excited. So there it is. Early diagnosis, better care, 25% lower hospital readmission rates for chronic heart failure patients. 36 months earlier detection of treatment of diabetes, which we talked about on a Twitter post, X post. 15% fewer hospitalizations for COPD patients, for patients seeing doctors who use the Clover Assistant. Early diagnosis, better care. Highest HEDIS healthcare quality score in the nation, 4.94 stars, the highest. This is the power of the Clover Assistant. Smarter, AI-powered, better Medicare. What do you think happens when you have all these institutions coming in and buying? Over 100,000 lives. The fastest growing MA plan in New Jersey. Accessible care, designed around you. Wide network plans with zero PCP, with $0 PCP visits, and in-home care. The Clover Assistant, personalized, AI-powered clinical support for your doctor. The fact that I'm making money while being able to do good, while being able to help patients get better health care, right? And on top of it, right, being able to show this research to showcase fundamental analysis and teach financial literacy from our educational platform. You have to understand that I am connecting all bells to what I believe what constitutes a truly fulfilled life. Okay, so there it is there. Now Chamath is coming back a little bit on the lighter side of a joke. Chamath is coming back with a new SPAC. A lot of folks are talking crap, but they fail to mention SoFi's performance, which has been pretty good. Given that the SPAC market's coming back, SoFi's coming up, Open Doors starting to get attraction, we're starting to see some frothiness in the market starting to pop back online. But at the end of the day, it's all about the fundamentals. So if we go ahead and, oh, by the way, Morgan Stanley is buying more Clover. They just went ahead and increased their positions by 52%. They own about 3.39 million shares of Clover. I went ahead and I conducted an analysis. And what I did is I looked at Clover Health, Alignment Healthcare, Humana, and United Healthcare. And I went ahead and looked at the number of employees. Right? United Healthcare has 400,000 employees. Humana has 65,000 approximately employees. Alignment Healthcare has around 1,600. And Clover Health has around 570. If you go ahead and take how much money they make in terms of their revenues by their employee ratio, you can see that United makes around $1 million per employee. Humana makes about $1.8 million per employee. Alignment makes about $1.9 million per employee. Look at Clover. Clover makes about $2.8 million per employee. Now, how is it that Clover can make more revenue per employee? How is this possible? I mean, you compare it to the one next to it, it's by a lot. And that is because it's the power of the Clover Assistant, the power of automation tools. It's one of the reasons why they are a capital light business. By looking at their capital expenditures and comparing it to Alignment Healthcare, you're able to see, utilizing our proprietary stock terminal, Alignment Healthcare, you could see their CapEx is around $41 million on a fiscal year basis. But if you look at for Clover, the capital expenditures is only $1.56 million. That's quite interesting. And it shows you how, in terms of capital expenditures, as defined as capital spending, is the money spent to acquire upgrades, physical assets, such as buildings or equipment, or crucial for future growth and maintenance. There's not a lot of physical assets for Clover. That's why their buildings, a lot of the folks in the lifetime access are like, well, these buildings don't look great. Why invest in that? They are a software company. Okay? But most folks don't understand that. Right? Institutions, going back to what this gentleman was saying here, a lot of folks had sell ratings for SoFi, but yet institutions kept on rising. Institutional ownership. This will be a very important game that institutions will also play with us. And it's important to look at other companies to learn from. In terms of our new software upgrade, we're going to go ahead and talk about future simulations, probably on the next video, given that it is late right now, right? And there it is, and people are already starting to see what Benjamin Walker is basically saying. Absolutely, I mean it's criminal, right? But it's fine. It gives people like us an opportunity who do homework. So if you're out there, ladies and gentlemen, and want a path that is an educational platform wrapped by over 2.5 billion outputs of institutionally graded data at the heart and soul of Wall Street, our platform is there, right? And I'm not going anywhere, okay? I work very hard for my members, and I'm all about moving forward. I love what I do. I love what I built, and I'm just very excited to see it through. And a lot of folks that have purchased lifetime access about 2 months ago didn't even think how we could just literally improve this fast, right? We are moving lightning speed, right? And at the end of the day, it's to provide service. It's to provide the highest quality customer service that we can provide with access to the best data out there, right? That's the goal of our platform, right? And I'm very excited to be able to have this and share it with all of you, and to create a community in a sea of just corporate America greed. I don't have to say much, but you guys already know, right? So I appreciate you all, love you all, and I'll see you on the next one.